Bonjour, good morning, welcome all of you. So, this is the session of Savitri summarization. For now, we want to discuss on my love. That is the love of the Universal Mother, is the love of Savitri, my love. As Savitri quotes, many occasions you have seen the description of love there. Here we will find mother's love in her own language, own voice. My love is not the hunger of the heart. My love is not the craving of the flesh. It came to me from God to God it returns. So here is the we are focusing on the mother's love. That is the taken from book 10, canto 1, the gospel of death and the vanity of the ideal. So here we are going to have a brief discussion in the process of the Savitri summarization. The Gospel of Death and the Vanity of the Ideal, Book 10, Canto 2. So here we are taking, of course, in brief because as we know, this is the only summarization session, and we are focusing on the gist. So we can have the vanity. We can just now look at the vanity because Satyavan is dead. They are taken away. We have seen. We have gone some distance, like dream twilight of the ideal. That occasion, luminous Satyavan. Their adventure to some extent we have already seen. Now it is the time to focus upon the date and debate, vanity. So these are the things we are going to focus upon. Then pealed the calm, inexorable voice. Then pealed the calm, inexorable voice. That's what we have seen. And abolishing hope, cancelling life's golden truths. You know that has been that dreadful description we have known, that area, that arena, that situation, that escape, and that track, that unknown realms, that threatenings, everything we have seen naturally. And the voice also, it has been described, calm, inexorable voice. Abolishing hope, cancelling life's golden truths. Fatal, it ascends, smote the trembling air. So the lovely, that lovely world swam thin and frail, most like some pearly events and farewell gleam on the faint verge of dusk in moonless eaves. So just we want to focus more upon the voice, really how it is, how that dreadful voice, inexorable voice. Prisoner of nature, many visioned spirit, thoughts creature in the ideal's realm, enjoying the unsubstantial immortality. That is what has been quoted. Enjoying the unsubstantial immortality, the subtle, marvelous mind of man has feigned. This is the world from which the yearnings came. This is the world from which the yearnings came. So, man's thought paints images, illusions, or illusion rounds, professing the glories it shall never see. Professing the glories it shall never see, it labors delicately among its dreams. Just imagine how it is very very illusory voice, discouraging voice, words. The ideal dwells not in heaven, not on earth. A bright delirium of man's ardor of hope, drunk with the wine of its own fantasy. Just imagine how tremendously actually it actually threatens and of course mocking the human ideology and human fate. Thy vision's error builds the azure skies, thy vision's error drew the rainbow's arc. How just imagine that great mocking is there. Thy mortal longing wide for thee, made for thee a soul. This angel in thy body, this soul, thou callest love, who shapes its wings from thy emotions huge. Everything has been criticized, sarcastically criticized and mocked. Then it is a passion of the yearning cells about the souls. It is a place that calls to place to serve its lust. It is thy mind that seeks an answering mind, and dreams awhile that it has found its mate. About the love it has been described. It is thy life that asks a human prop to uphold its weakness lonely in the world. Then later we can find that description. Then crumbles back into the parent knot, while upheld by an unknowing force. So, in vain to clothe love's perishable mud, thou hast woven on the immortal's borrowed loom. That about the looming, your weaving, these are the terms, and we used to this in this loom we weave the, of course, prepare a dress or any cloth which you find. The ideal's gorgeous and unfading robe. The ideal never yet was a real maid, imprisoned in form that glory can't live. Into a body short it breathes no more. So these are the things we can hear. Laughter we can. Here's his intuitions are its cenotaphs. He signs his dead conventions with its name. His virtues don the ideal sky robe and a nimbus of the outline of a face. Then we can go a child of matter. Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully. That get description we are now going to see. For truth shines far from the falsehoods of the world. How can the heavens come down to unhappy earth or the eternal lodge in drifting time? That is a question. See, how much discouraging that question. How can the heavens come down to unhappy earth, or the eternal lodge in the divine drifting time? How shall the ideal trade earth's dolorous soil, where life is only a labor and a hope? Then a child of matter and by matter fed, a fire flaming low in nature's great. The avatars have then another very discouraging sentence you can find. The real truth to be understood some very interesting way. The avatars have lived and died in vain. Vain was the sage's thought, the prophet's voice. In vain is seen the shining upward way. Sage's thoughts, prophet's ways, prophet's voice, avatarhood, everything is vain as mocked by Lord of Death. Earth lies unchanged beneath the circling sun. She loves her fall and no omnipotence. Her mortal imperfections can erase. Just imagine how it is there. Then we can find find if Satyavan had lived, love would have died. If Satyavan had lived, love would have died, but Satyavan is dead and love shall live a little while in thy sad breast until his face and body fade from memory's wall. Just imagine how it is explained by Lord of Death. But that is a good thing. But only a fine sunlit patch on earth, the marvelous aspect took the heavens outburst. The snake is there and the worm in the heart of the rose. A word, a moment's act can slay the god. Then precarious is his immortality. He has 1,000 ways to suffer and die. So immortality it has got no value. Then love can't live by heavenly food alone. Only on the sap of earth can it survive. For thy passion was a sensual want refined. Just in how he is discouraging, criticizing, and he is mocking. Then the hunger of the body and the heart, thy want can tire and seize or turn and beware. Or love may meet a dire and pitiless end. So later we can go. We can find here. By a divine adventure of heavenly powers, two strive, constant associates without joy. Two egos straining in a single leash, two minds divided by their jarring thoughts, two spirits disjoined, forever separate. So, thus is the ideal falsified in man's world. So, death saves thee from this and saves Satyavan. He is now safe, delivered from himself. That's what is a very consoling, adversely consoling word. Now he is safe. He now is safe, delivered from himself. He travels to silence and felicity. Call him not back to the treacheries of earth and the poor petty life of animal man. Man, how is he is animal man? In my vast tranquil spaces, let him sleep. Then in harmony with the mighty hush of death, where love lies slumbering on the breast of bliss. Love lies slumbering on the breast plus of bliss. And what you leave her, and what you are going to do, and thou go back alone to thy frail world, chastise thy heart with knowledge and unhood to see thy nature raised into the clear living heights. Then later we can find delivered into my mysterious rest. One with my fathomless nihil all forget. One with my fathomless nihil all forget. Forget thy fruitless spirit's waste of force. Forget the very circle of thy birth. Forget the joy and the struggle and the pain, the vague spiritual quest which fast began. Then you can find, and time and its eons crawled across the past, and the souls emerged into mortality. You forget everything, you go back and enjoy, forget the soul, forget Satyavan whom you really loved. Anyway, so we are going to the later part of the discussion. Before going, let us have a see the how till now whatever we have read, we should go for the summarization. Then book 10 canto 2, the gospel of death and the vanity of the ideal. Death speaks, O prisoner of nature, this is the unsubstantial world from which thy hopes came. World, unsubstantial world from which thy hopes came. This is how man's thought erects illusions and ideals come to be formed. Actually, the idea is neither in heaven nor on earth. Love is a ferment of the body and it must die with the body. So just that his own perception and own illusory definitions. Thy mind vainly tries to lend eternity to perishing things. Here all emerges from nothingness. All emerges from nothingness and crumbles back to nothingness. There is no such thing as lasting love nor ideal made real. If there is truth, it shines far above the world. So things actually he is trying to say nothing is real. Everything is either his creation or beyond reachability of the. If something is there beyond reachability of the ordinary human being. The legend that is love, what then already we have seen, love is only a desire of the flesh. It is soon spent out and it is short-lived glory fades away. Death has saved thee and Satyavan from this disillusionment. Don't call back Satyavan. Go back to thy frail world. Open thy eyes and see the transitoriness of the things. Forget all this struggle and the pain. Forget this vain quest for the spirit. And Savitri replies, we will go and read a little bit on how Savitri is actually responding in her own very interesting lines we will find. Sri Aurobindo quotes, and it is the voice of the great divine mother Savitri. Now we are going to quoting. A dangerous music to the dark power, Savitri replied. A dangerous music now thou findst, O death, then melting thy speech into the harmonious pen. See, of course, my love is not a hunger of the heart, my love is not a craving of the flesh. It came to me from God to God, returns. So thy falsehood mingled with the sad strains of truth. So just imagine only sad music you are actually making us hear, but it has no meaning. Then she quotes, one day I shall behold my great sweet world. One day I shall behold my great sweet world, put off the dire disguises of the gods, unveil from terror and disrobe from sin. So appeased we shall draw near our mother's face, then shall we clasp the ecstasy we chase. We chase now, then shall we clasp that ecstasy we chase. Then shall we shudder with the long sought God, shudder with the long sought God. Then shall we find heaven's unexpected strain. Then you can go one who came love and lover and beloved eternal built himself a wondrous field and yoked the measures of a marvelous dance. So then later actually we can find some beautiful lines from our description. Sri Aurobindo writes, and it is the voice of Savitri. His bliss laughs to us, or it calls concealed like a far heard unseen entrancing flute. We can, from like this far heard unseen entrancing flute, we can hear the voice. He disguised the lover seeks and draws our souls. He named himself for me, grew Satyavan. Then about their existence and mother's existence really. For we are man and woman from the past, from the beginning. From we are man and woman from the past, from the beginning. The twin soul born from one undying power, fires. Did he not dawn on me on in other stars? Then we can find he rose like a wild wave out of the floods and dragged me helpless into the siege of bliss. Out of my curtained past his arms arrive. They have touched me like the soft persuading wind. They have plucked me like these arms of Satyavan, glad and trembling fires, and clasped me happily burned in ruthless flame. I too have found him charmed in lovely forms, and run delighted to his distant voice. So everything is actually it is synchronized, it is actually collateral, and we are one. If there is yet a happier, greater God, let him first wear the face of Satyavan and let his soul be one with him I love. So let me him seek me and that I may desire. Then we can go a little bit forward. For its I cherish God the fire, not God the dream. But then listening it, God actually he has a very much peculiar reply. So before we can better summarize this voice of Savitri, then we'll go forward. Savitri replies, thy falsehood mixed with the stains of truth are dangerous. Falsehood mixed with the stains of wood, which is dangerous. I forbid this to thee to slay my soul. My love is not of the flesh; it comes comes from God. This is a voice of the eternal. It is a voice of eternal ecstasy. One day we shall near the great mother's face, and the gods shall gain their fulfillment, and the darkened deities their deliverance. God, that is the difference between the gods and the darkened deities. The eternal comes near ever in the disguise of love. The eternal comes near ever in the disguise of in the guise of love, and tastes both of the joy and the pain of life. He named himself as Satyavan for me. Again, Satyavan and I have found the twin man and woman from the beginning of time. From the beginning of the time, we are twin men. We have met and loved each other. We have met and loved each other. So not in many worlds. If there is a greater God, let him wear the face of Satyavan before I desire him. O death, advance beyond the phantom beauty of this world. Advance beyond the phantom beauty of this world. I care not for this world of dream. I cherish God the fire. I cherish God the fire, not the God the dream. So we can now listen to the voice of the Lord of Death. Then how the majesty of his calm and dreadful voice we can hear like this. A bright hallucination are thy thoughts, bright hallucination are thy thoughts. A prisoner, held by a spiritual cord of thy own sensuous will, the ardent slave. Thou send'st eagle poised to meet the sun, wars winged with the red splendor of thy heart. Just think how it is scornfully, actually, it is dreadfully, it is actually uttered by Lord of Death. Again, vain is thy longing to build heaven on earth, artificer of ideal and idea, artificer of ideal and idea, mind, child of matter in the womb of life to higher levels persuades his parents' steps. But mind, a glorious traveller in the sky, walks lamely on earth with footsteps slow. There it was supermind. So, coming down, it has been perverted to human mind or below surface mind. So, it was a glorious traveller in the sky, walks lamely on the earth with footsteps slow. Hardly he can move life's rebellious steps. Hardly can he hold galloping hoofs of sense. So we can get matter is on the farm earth seeds strong and sure. Matter on the farm earth seeds strong and sure. It is the firstborn of created things. It stands the last when mind and life are slain. Thy soul is a brief flower by the gardener mind, created by thy matter's terrain plot. Thy life, a passing wave up on matter sea. So just imagine how your love, your soul, your mind, your heart, and your love. Then, if matter falls, all crumbling cracks and falls, all upon matter stands as on a as on a rock. So matter has been given a beautiful, a great importance, but them bearing soul, actually soul, as if it has got no existence. All by death's mercy breathe and live awhile, all think and act by the inconscient grace. Then at last to open thy eyes consent and see the stuff of which thou and the world were made. How pitilessly it has been tormented, of course tortured, trying to torture. I, death, was king and kept my regal state. When all unconscious was, then all was well. I, death was king and kept my regal state, designing my unwilled, unerring plan, created with a calm, insentient heart. So, later, I struck out the supreme original spark and spread its sparse ranked armies through the inane. Manufactured the stars from the occult radiances. Marshaled the platoons of the invisible dance. I formed Earth's beauty out of atom and gas and built from chemic plasm the living man. About his own creation, he is actually boasting up. Then we can find the inconscient conscious strove to learn its task, and ignorant personal God was born in mind, and to understand invented reason's law, for which actually everything has been a little bit second. My creation is crumbled. The impersonal past thrust back to man's desire, a trouble. Then desire came, the trouble rocked the great world's blind still heart, and nature lost her wide immortal calm. Thus came the rapt, incomprehensible sin. We can go a little bit ahead. So, but where is the room for soul or place for God? In the brute immensity of a machine, a transient breath thou takest it for thy soul, born from a gas, a plasm, a sperm, a gene. Mostly that law about the soul, it has been criticized very dreadfully. A God, but immortality thou claimst for thy spirit, but immortality for imperfect man, a God who hurts himself at every step, would be a cycle of eternal pain. Wisdom and love thou claimst as thy right. Two things you are claiming as per your right. Wisdom and love thou claimst as thy right, but knowledge in this world is errors made, a brilliant procuress of science. And human love, again, a posturer on earth stage, who imitates with verb a fiery dance. Man's knowledge cascade in the barrels of memory. Then love is a honey and poison in the breast, drunk by it as the nectar of the gods. Poison in the honey and poison on the breast. Ours human wisdom, that's what is criticized. Ours human wisdom is no great bowed power, and love no gleaming angel from the skies. If they aspire beyond earth's air, dullard air, then how high could reach that forced unnatural flight? Then we can find Thy mind and life are tricks of matter's force. Thy mind and life are what they are, tricks of matter's force. If thy mind seems to thee a radiant sun, if thy life runs a swift and a glorious stream, this is the illusion of thy mortal heart. Then we can find even matter vanishes into energies vague, and energy is a motion of world not. How shall the ideals unsubstantial hues be painted steep in art's vermilion blur? Then again, that beautiful thing has been quoted here. How shall the will of the wisp becomes a star? Will of the wisp becomes a star. The ideal is a malady of thy mind, a bright delirium of the search and the thought. O soul, misled by the splendor of thy thoughts, misled by the splendor of thy thoughts, O earthly creature with thy dream of heaven, obey, resigned, and still the earthly law. You obey, resigned, and still you go back. Accept the brief light that falls upon thy days. Take what thou canst of life's permitted joy. Life's joy that is permitted. Take that much. Submitting to the ordeal of fate's scourge, suffer what thou must of toil and grief and care. Three things are permitted: toil, grief, and care. Only suffer within that limit. There shall approach, silencing thy passionate heart, my long, calm night of everlasting sleep. Silencing thy passionate heart, what? My long, calm night of everlasting sleep. There into the house from which thou camest retire. Glorious line. Fantastic, excellent. They are into the house from which thou camest retire. Anyway, let us have a brief summarization here. Death speaks again. Thy thoughts are only the bright hallucinations. Vain is thy bid to build heaven on earth. Mind, the artificial of ideal and idea. But a child of matter in the womb of life. Matter is the firstborn, a solid image of reality. Matter we have seen in his own voice. If it ends, all ends. Mind and life, including everything, ends here with the ending of matter. Besides, even matter turns out to be a form of energy. That's what we have already seen. To be a form of energy, and it steps of energies dance. Finally, even this movement of energy ends in nothing. Movements of energy ends in nothing. Then this is the stuff of which thou and thy world are made. This is the stuff from which thou and thy world are made. Out of the inconscient void has this moving world sprang forth. This is the illusory creation of the death. This is the inconscient vast from this is out of this an inconscient void. This has this moving world sprang forth. When all was unconscious, all was well, calm, moving according to my unerring plan. Whatever plan I did, that was unerring, and everything was moving sweetly, smoothly. But the thought came that destroyed my harmony. That thought came and spoiled the harmony of my creation. Matter began to hope with thy thought, great T, capital T. Matter began to think, hope, think and feel. Joy and pain strove. Nature lost her wide calm. Nature lost her wide calm, and the tangible paths, tangled paths woven by the mind came to existence. Everything is spoiled because universally nobody was trying to challenge me. This thought has spoiled the harmony of my created world. Where is the soul and where is God in this immensity of a machine? Everything seems to be mechanical, born, emerged from machine. Thou claimst immortality for thy soul, spirit. Thou claimst immortality for thy spirit, but immortality for imperfect man is dangerous. A God who hurts himself at every step. Knowledge is a phenomenon of ignorance. Knowledge, you claim, that is a phenomenon of ignorance. Love is a secretion from the erotic glands. Love, you claim, that is a secretion from erotic glands. Mind and life are tricks of matter's force. How shall the ideals unsubstantial hues be painted on the earth's crimson blur? That is the question that puts before Savitri, of course, directly to us. How shall the ideal's unsubstantial hues be painted on the earth's crimson blur, O soul? Don't be misled by the splendor of thy thoughts. Don't be misled by the splendor of thy thoughts. Obey the earthly law. Take what thou canst in of life's permitted joy. You can take more. Only something is permitted. Within that permitted joy, you have to share your share. Suffer what thou must, till my long and calm night of sleep claims thee. Till then you go and take rest. So here concludes the session, and here concludes the great destroying voice mockery. So then we'll go for the debate of love and death tomorrow. So here a couple of lines only we can recite. Suffer what thou must of toil and grief and care. There shall approach, silencing thy passionate heart, my long night of everlasting sleep. Finally, the word, the line which is written in a big way. Of course, it is a big criticism, mockery, and of course, big threat for us. No, so they are into the house from where thou camest, retire. That sentence construction, that is also so nice, so fantastic. Anyway, this is the threatening sentence from Lord of Death. They are into the house from which thou camest, retire. Bande Matram.